Hey kids, there will be no monologue this evening because my feet hurt. In the immortal words of Krusty the Clown, we've got a great show lined up for you this evening. Bazooka Joe Valtellini will join me in studio. Robin Black in studio. Tim Elliott, he's got Joseph Benavides in a couple of weeks. We got Tim Elliott on the program tonight. We got videos of the week. All that and more on tonight's MMA Meltdown. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. I am Gabriel Morency, and as promised, we've got a kick-ass program for you this evening. Full house. Robin Black will join me in studio a little bit later on in the show. UFC flyweight Tim Elliott's going to join us from Kansas via the pipelines. And as you can see, we've got the one and only Bazooka Joe sitting alongside a man who won the Breakout Fighter of the Year 2013. Kickboxer, also involved in the Fight of the Year, a welterweight battle and showdown that people are still talking about. And if you haven't seen it against Nicky Holskin, check it out. It's on YouTube. Bazooka Joe Valtellini is with us in studio. Joe, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
Hey, it's good, man. Thanks for that intro, man. You make me sound really good there.
Hey, so no, we're excited to have you on the program. And me and Joe did another Canadian talk show last week, Off the Record, with Michael Landsberg, and I was stoked that I was on with you. And I was like, man, I got to get this guy on MMA Meltdown, and here you are.
Here I am, yeah.
So 2013 was a pretty good year for you, wasn't it? You didn't get the belt that you wanted, but nevertheless, you made a name for yourself. You were the Breakout Fighter of the Year.
That's right.
And you're the second-ranked fighter in glory right now.
That's right, yeah. It's been an awesome year for me. You know, you can't get any better than that. I went 4-1. I wanted that title, and that was my goal for the year. And I wanted to be the youngest, earliest kickboxer in a career. I only had 13 fights, and I wanted that belt, right? And the guys I'm fighting have over 100 fights. So
that's the difference between kickboxing and boxing and mixed martial arts, isn't it? But you guys have multiple fights in the same day sometimes, right?
Yeah, that was my first experience. In Japan, I actually had to fight 2 fights in one night, which was a crazy experience for me. It was tough. It was tough. Preparing for it, even fight day, it's tough. You got to peak twice in one night, so it's very difficult.
That's it, because normally there's so much that goes into peaking at the right moment.
That's right.
And then there's some sort of a release after the first fight. So what did you do with the mentality? Did you stay in fight mode after the first fight, or do you sort of have to let that fight out and prepare for the second fight?
Well, it's
a breathe out, breathe in type of thing.
It's kind of, you know what, you have to breathe, kind of catch a little bit of rest. I only had 20 minutes between fights, which is absolutely crazy. But in that 20 minutes...
There's not a lot of time to think in 20 minutes there.
In 20 minutes, it was more stay focused, kind of relaxed. You know, I just had a knockout in the first round of the tournament, so I was very excited. I was pumped up. I wanted to celebrate my knockout. But I had to go back into the change room, kind of focus myself, switch gloves, and by that time, they're saying, let's go. You're out for the finals. Now,
like so many mixed martial artists, so many fighters we talk to in the UFC have been inspired by the movie Bloodsport. Yeah. And Jean-Claude Van Damme is the man to so many. Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee, but to a lot of people in the younger generation, it was Bloodsport. Are you in that camp as well? That you saw the movie and said, man, I got to do that?
That was my movie as a kid. Like I said, most kids usually watch cartoons, but I was obsessed with Bloodsport. Kickboxer, Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone. So he was the guy that really got me into martial arts to start.
But you were a black belt by the time you were 10 years old, right?
That's right.
That's pretty scary. So nobody was taking your lunch, right? And
no,
did the other kids know that you were a black belt?
They did, yeah, they did. It was funny. My lunch money stayed in my pocket, that's for sure.
Now, something I did not know about you, you can't believe everything that you read online, was that you played football.
That's right.
For the University of Toronto. What's guessing your position? Cornerback?
No.
Wide receiver?
No. I was actually, you know what? I was a soccer player. Growing up.
You were the kicker.
I was the kicker and punter. Yeah.
See, that's not right. The kicker, you're the toughest guy on the team, probably.
Yeah, I challenged a few guys a few times.
Did they try to haze you and stuff? And you're like, oh, you want to do it? Oh,
you know what? It's that stereotype, right? It's that stereotype with kickers. They're like, oh, they're the weakest guy on the team. They just sit there and do their thing. So I didn't take that very well. So some of those bigger guys and myself, we had a few arguments here and there.
Really?
But you know what? A lot of the guys on the team loved it. They were walking around saying, hey, the kicker on my team will beat everybody on your team. So the guys on my team liked it, embraced it, and we had fun with it.
How far can you boot a field goal?
In
What's your career
practice,
long?
I've hit in practice. Maybe the wind was a little bit of a help, but I hit 55 yards in practice.
Really?
Game, I want to say it was about 45 or 47 inside a game.
And you know what? The Toronto Argonauts have always had local Italian kickers, man.
That's
Would you ever think about playing in the CFL?
I was lucky enough to actually practice with Prefontaine and the Argos one time. Awesome experience, awesome group of guys. But I wanted to be a fighter. I wanted to be a professional fighter, and I wanted to be where I am right now, sitting here with you.
You weren't on that, well, this is one of the downsides of your career, right?
But good.
You weren't on that Toronto Varsity Blues team that lost like 100 games in a row, were you?
Yes, I was. I played actually, it's funny to say, I played 5 years with the UFC and didn't win a game. The funny thing is, the year after I leave, it's the kicker that wins the winning field goal for the Blues to win. So.
My guess, playing for the Blues, you didn't have a lot of opportunities for game-winning kicks, right?
No, I actually had one once against York, but I was playing with a broken arm. Just couldn't make that field goal and take us out of that losing streak.
I had to bring it up because I was thinking, I was like, you played for Toronto, and I was thinking about how old you are. I'm like, you might have been on that team.
Fully there for the whole streak.
So that teaches about the mental discipline and the perseverance that you need. So Jean-Claude Van Damme, I saw the movie Put Up Your Dukes, documentary about Frank Dukes.
Okay.
Who supposedly was the inspiration, the real life blood sport. Mm-hmm. Some people are saying that he's might be fake. I'm tending to believe that he's the real deal. They say that he bought his trophy at a trophy store in Los Angeles and that he's full of it and that it's not true. But I saw the video with him kicking the bulletproof glass. What do you think about Frank Dukes? So you're a Van Damme guy, but so Van Damme came from the Frank Dukes school here, or world, so to speak. What have you heard about Dukes as a professional kickboxer?
I haven't heard much. Again, what I know of Frank Dukes is from Bloodsport. I don't really know if I want to know different. That's my childhood hero, and kind of that whole story.
To be busted,
I don't want to know. So you know what it is? I'm going to stay focused on what I know, and I'm going to keep him as a champion.
What do you think? You think you could shatter bulletproof glass? Can we go rob a bank together with your feet, just like I
haven't tried, but I might have to try it on my way home.
And growing up in Montreal like I did in the mid '80s, all of my roommates got into karate, and Jean-Yves used to hang around and come by, legendary kickboxer, and it's amazing to me that Jean-Yves and there's a good tradition of kickboxing in Canada. What I'm getting at here is, how the hell is this not legal in Ontario right now? I mean, how is it that it's legal for the mayor of Toronto to smoke crack, yet it's not legal for you to earn a living here? It's preposterous to me. And the UFC has kickboxing. It has Muay Thai. Like, didn't we already go through this argument, Hayashi, with the UFC? Mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling. How can everything in one be legal, but on its own not be? How does that make sense to anybody?
I don't know. It blows my mind. It's frustrating. It's frustrating that, someone of local talent like myself and other great fighters can't fight in our hometown. And it's really sad, and I hope it changes because, it's a dream for me to fight here at home, and it should happen. It needs to happen, actually.
And I love the irony here in which you went to New York to fight, in which MMA is not legal in New York. Some weird stuff. So you go to New York, yet, glory is obviously the top of the mountain. Was there any apprehension? We hear about fighters in the UFC all the time, the UFC jitters. How confident were you going in the first fight in glory?
My first fight in glory was crazy, actually. I only had, I think it was my 7th professional fight at that time, and they asked me to go to Istanbul, Turkey to fight a legend of the sport. And this guy had somewhere around like 95 professional fights, and it was my 7th professional fight. And I'm fighting him in his hometown in Turkey, my first time fighting international, so there was a lot on my plate. But I went in and I believed in my team. My coach, Paul Minhas, really told me. I asked him before I went. I'm like, this guy, he's a legend of the sport. Can I beat him? He's like, you're gonna beat him. So I went in with, tunnel vision, and I went in and I beat him. And I did what I did best, and I didn't let the crowd or the people get to me or his experience. And I think that's been my biggest success in my career, is not letting these giants of the sport intimidate me.
And you fought in some giants of the sport, and that's pretty hostile territory. You're going into Turkey here, And we should note, this program actually airs in Turkey.
Wow,
this year airs in Turkey.
They're awesome fans.
I was going to ask you about that. There seems to be a high level of respect amongst kickboxing fans. They treat the fighters, each fighter with respect, right? Yeah. It's not like they hate on one guy and like another guy. Everybody's sort of respected,
Everyone's
right?
pretty respectful, and especially one of the best experiences with fans and interaction with supporters was in Japan. They're very loyal to their fighters, and we got to see one of the greatest kickboxers of all time, Peter Aerts, retire, and seeing a crowd kind of cry over this fighter was just amazing to see. And hopefully one day I get that reaction from my fans and from all over the world.
So your fight against Nicky Holzkin, it was the liverkick.com fight of the year. Yeah. It was the bloody elbow fight of the year. You were the breakthrough fighter of the year. Just an amazing fight. If you haven't seen it, it aired on the Fight Network, actually. It's on YouTube, you can check it out. But, man, you guys just stood there and traded, man. Was that what you... It was amazing to me, the volume that this guy throws with, right? Like, he didn't stop. Like, you were bringing it, but he just didn't freaking stop. Like, throwing it and kicking and coming at you. Was that what you took away from that? That, holy crap, that was a high level of volume. That was a high pace. Were you expecting that type of tempo going into the fight?
I thought, honestly, I thought he was going to back up a little more. I thought I was able to push my pace more on him. But he stood there and fought back. And it was something where there's so much on the line where you can't leave anything out. You got to go in there 100%. You got to punch your hardest and keep throwing. There's a big paycheck at the end of the day, and your childhood dream of becoming the #1 kickboxer in the world is seconds away.
It was just amazing, though. They didn't stop. They didn't stop. It was like rock and sock 'em. Like, it was... I don't know what the fight metric, like punch and kick count at the end of that one.
It must have been high.
Like, how long did it take? I see you reaching right now. Yeah. I was thinking, man, like, you had to, like, he got you in the liver once, right?
Yeah.
How long does it take? Like, how long were you feeling that after the fact?
It was just momentarily. When I felt it, it was kind of like everything in my body was like shut down. But it was that heart and that will to win kept me standing, and I didn't go down. And right away I started throwing again. It was that will and that heart and drive to be the best.
And in the last moments, you just said screw it, didn't it? Like, you were like, I'm throwing, and the analyst was saying, this guy's like Arturo Gatti. Yeah. He's just going to stand there and trade. And you're like, I'm going to try to knock this guy out before we're done here.
You actually, if you watch the fight, there's about, I think at 10 or 12 seconds, I actually look up at the clock to see how much time is left. And I said, I have 10 seconds to be the best kickboxer in the world. So it's leave it all out here right now. I felt I was maybe losing that third round. So I'm leaving it all in the ring.
So that fight was what? It was December 21st.
December 21st.
It was December 21st, 2013. We're to 2014 right now. When people found out you were coming on the show, they're like, when's he fighting again? What's going on? So when are you fighting again? What's going on?
Well, I'm scheduled for June 21st. The location is to be announced. So hopefully I can come back on a show and kind of tell you guys more about it and more details on how to watch the fight.
Now so what's the status? So Glory can't come to Ontario, obviously.
Right now,
What about Montreal? Montreal's a great fight down. Everything's legal in Quebec.
Yeah, if it was up to me, we'd all be in Canada. But hopefully, all the guys in Glory decide that Toronto and Canada is a huge market, and we have the best fans in the world here. So why not bring it here and show that as a country we can really support our fighters and we're good fans. Now, and we saw that with the UFC, right? We've seen amazing shows here in Toronto, and we can do the same for kickboxing. We just need that opportunity. I
imagine a lot of people ask you. And I'm asking you this, and I'm not saying this because I think you should be in the UFC, because you got a great career and you got a great thing going right now. But I'm sure you get asked a lot. Hey, Joe, are you going to be in the UFC? Because you work out with UFC fighters.
That's right.
And I'm sure the question comes up often. What do you answer when you say, oh, you know what, I like what I do? Or what's the answer when people ask you that? Early on in my pro career, it was an option. If it wasn't for Glory, I probably would have gone in the avenue of mixed martial arts. I actually at one point was training for a mixed martial arts fight,
but I got offered another kickboxing fight, so I decided to stay with the kickboxing. So as long as Glory's here and we're putting on big shows and we're getting that growing attention and viewership, I'm going to stay with kickboxing.
I tell you, I've always been a big kickboxing fan, but I really like the way Glory, it seems like they're raising their game a little bit recently. The TV production is great.
Amazing.
People are really enjoying it, and it's what fighting is supposed to be, in which, the last Glory card, in which you weren't on, but the last Glory card, Twitter lit up, man. Yeah. And it was a busy sports night that night. There was boxing going on, there was big basketball games and hockey games. But people were like, are you watching this fight that's going on Spike right now?
Yeah.
And there's such a buzz. I really believe the Glory is trending upwards right now.
I totally think so. Its brand and its fighting style, it's there for entertainment and excitement. It's 3 rounds, 3 minutes, and there's no time for a play out. We can't go in there and kind of warm up. You go in there and right away you're fighting. So you're getting 3 rounds, full action. I would say it's probably the sport with the most KO ratios. So it's made to entertain people. And I think as soon as we continue to get more TV opportunity and more time, more opportunities for people to watch it, the sport's just going to keep growing, and people are getting hooked, and it's blowing up all over the world. So it's been positive, and it's been an amazing. I'm happy to be on that ground of it growing. So very soon, I think next year and this year is going to be amazing.
And when we say growing, we should specify in North America.
In North America,
in North America.
Huge, it's huge around the world.
Huge in Japan, Netherlands.
Netherlands, very popular.
Turkey.
Turkey was really big, and even I think there was a huge showing in Milan. They're going to be all over the world, but I think the market right now has to be in North America, and it's growing. We've been all over the States, really big in New York now. It's been in Chicago, and hopefully it's going to be in LA and Vegas and other big cities around the world in North America.
And you fought in Vegas before, though, right?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
You fought in Vegas before?
Yeah, that was a full rules Muay Thai before I made it to Glory. Yes.
And so you haven't always fought with elbows, right?
No, that was my first fight in Vegas.
So the first fight with elbows, and like, wow, so the guy can elbow me in the face here.
Yeah, that was my 6th professional fight. That was his 85th or something. So he knew he was going to come in and use his elbows right away to throw me off.
So it's amazing. So it sounds like every guy you fought in basically has nearly 100 fights, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty close.
You're pretty much a greenhorn, so to speak, in the industry, aren't you?
Yeah, very, very new to it, but that's what I like. I like that my record doesn't show a lot of experience, but I feel it's been 10 years of kickboxing for me. And before my 10 years of kickboxing, I had 10 years of Taekwondo. So I've been a part of martial arts my entire life. And it just shows that I have that experience. And I don't know if these guys take me lightly or what it is.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think that they look, you Canadian dude, how many fights does he have,
maybe
right?
in the beginning of my career, but I think I've made a name and a statement where people know when they get in that ring with me, there's going to be action. They're going to be fighting.
Now you've got, you've got a look to you in which, people, you look like you could be an actor. Yeah. You look like you could be an actor. And when I was on Off the Record, I was watching it with a girl, and she's like, this guy's a fighter, and he looks so clean cut and such a nice guy. And I told her, he's got the one thing, you stated fighters underestimate you, but you got that one thing, that will to win, that ultra heart in which you take a shot. You can't teach that, can you? Like,
no.
Like Arturo Gatti had. Mm-hmm. Guys that can take a shot, that will to win, and they're going to lay their heart on the line in a ring.
That's right. I think that's important as a fighter. And like you said, that's something you can't teach. You see it all the time when people sign up to local Taekwondo or anything where they start sparring, especially with kickboxing. It's when they get into that sparring and in the ring where you actually know if they're going to be a good fighter. You see a lot of guys doing amazing on the pads. They can kick pads all day. They look perfectly sound and everything's amazing. But once they get hit, they kind of get shy. They run away. And again, you got to have that will to win. I'm competitive. If I'm playing poker, if I'm playing heads or tails, I want to win. So I'm going to do what it takes, and I'm a very competitive person.
Well, hey, Bazooka Joe, I wish we had more time right now, but it was great having you in studio. You're welcome to come back here anytime at the Fight Network.
Thank you very much. This is awesome, and thanks for having me.
I wish John Ramdeen was here. He's one of your biggest fans. This guy loves Glory, and he's really selling me on the Glory as well. And I'm pushing the odds makers, because we have a lot of odds makers on the show, and there are odds for Glory. But, gambling, it's like peanut butter and chocolate, Joe. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you can bet on it, then, people want to watch it even more. And we're trying to get the odds makers to start posting this stuff. And, You know what? I think we're going to be able to. I can't wait to see your next fight, man.
Yeah, awesome.
Hey, great, Joe. It's great to see you again.
Awesome
Thanks a lot for taking the time. Great stuff. Next time he's in here, we're going to get some bulletproof glass, and we're going to see if he can pull a Frank Dukes with us on MMA Meltdown. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. We got Tim Elliott, UFC flyweight, joining us. Robin Black will join me in studio. Some kick-ass videos in a week, all that and more. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. We switch gears from glory to the UFC, and we're now joined by a man who has got a great fight lined up, a big opportunity against a very tough opponent, UFC 172, April the 26th in Baltimore, Maryland. Of course, it's Jon Jones and Glover Teixeira throwing it down, although Phil Davis says he thinks Jon Jones is going to back out for one reason or another. I've got a good feeling that Tim Elliott ain't backing out of a shot to get Joseph Benavidez in an octagon. Tim Elliott steps up and joins us. Tim, what's going on, man? Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us.
Not much, man. Thanks for having me.
So, Tim, this fight's rapidly approaching. You know, this Teixeira-Jones card and their fight keeps on getting moved, and this Baltimore card's sort of been on the horizon for what feels like forever, but it's rapidly approaching right now, man. How stoked are you to get back in the octagon?
Man, I'm ready. I've been sick here the last couple of days. I was sick for almost 12 days, so I'm finally over that and back in the gym, and I'm excited. I'm ready to go. It's been far too long, so I'm excited to get in there. I think Joe B is a great opponent, so I'm real excited. That's
got to suck, missing 12 days of training and not being at full strength. Yet, I guess it's better to get that stuff out of the way early, right? You know, better to get sick then than to get sick now.
Right. The good thing about it is I got down to about 130 pounds being sick, so my weight should not be an issue at all for this fight, which that's a positive, I guess, I can pull out of it.
Yeah, you got to look at the bright side of things. It's a good way of looking at it, Tim. Is weight normally an issue for you? What do you walk around at normally?
You know, I walk probably around 152 to 154, but I have a nutritionist, and he gets me down to where, you know, even a day or two out, I'm still 15 or 16 pounds over, but he has me drinking so much water, and it's such a strict plan that, you know, I really have no problem making the weight.
Now, you know, we have a lot of fighters on the program, and there's all sort of types of fighters. And, you know, you get your guys that are training out of Florida, and they're kind of flashy dudes. They got nice cars. You got your Vegas guys with Ed Hardy T-shirts on and the sequins and everything. But you guys like Grindhouse, you really are a bunch of Midwest grinders, aren't you? And I've had your teammates on the show in the past before, and James Krause and Zach Cummings. You guys just sort of go about your business, but you got that Midwest blue-collar attitude when you go to the gym, don't you?
Yeah, man, and they're a great bunch of guys, and we're kind of struggling for little guys. We're just now starting to get where we have some little guys, but you know, Zach and James are they're my number one training partners. So when I get to actually fight a little guy, it's not really an issue for me because, you know, I got Zach Cummings, who's a big banger, and James Krause is one of the best strikers, you know, that I've ever seen. And so them guys just beat on me. So when I get in there with a 25-pounder, it's really not a big issue. So.
Yeah,
we're doing big things at Grindhouse. We're building a 25-pound basis now. We'll get some little guys coming through as well.
You know, it's funny because I was actually going to ask you about that because you guys are so close-knit and you're in a location, a part of the country where I imagine it's tough to get some other guys to come there as well. But the advantage is you're fighting against bigger guys. And I know James and I know Zach. These guys bring it pretty hard in the gym, don't they? I was talking to Zach about this. And he said, you guys don't really go at it, you know, very lightly too often, so to speak.
No, we get after it. When it's time to go hard, we do. We put it in a fight scenario, and we're fighting each other in there. We don't have an ego problem at all, so, you know, nobody's really scared to get after one another because when the bell rings, we're going to be friends, and it's all fun and games again. But, yeah, we fight hard in there, and that's what it's showing, I think. You know, we're not a traditional school. We're strictly MMA gym. That's all we're doing is training for MMA. and I think it's starting to show.
How much do you think you've developed over the last couple of years? As nobody's going to go undefeated in the UFC, obviously. And, they always say you judge a man by who his friends are. But I think when you're a fighter, you're sort of judged by who your opponents are. Because guys can have great records, and, who did he fight? Well, he didn't really fight anybody. So I think it's a sign of respect when you're getting good fights like you did against Ali, and now an opportunity against a guy like Benavidez, major test, but a major opportunity for you as well.
Yeah, and I feel like the UFC is helping me out in that way. I haven't fought anybody who is an unknown guy. I mean, John Dodson has fought 2 new guys coming into the UFC, and everybody I've fought has been top 10 ranked in the world. So it makes me feel good. They either think I'm good enough to fight these guys, or they're trying to get me out of here. And either way, I feel like it's a good opportunity, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's always the way you look at it. Exactly. They're trying to get rid of me, and it's a motivating factor right there. And you mentioned Dodson. What's so amazing about your weight class is the speed, the technical prowess, and the versatility. The versatility of all the fighters. Is it really that fast when you're in the octagon? Is it a little bit slower when you're fighting? Because I almost get dizzy when I watch you guys fight. I'm like, holy crap, man, these guys got to slow down. It's just too fast. It's too much. But you're so relentless. Everyone's got a great chin. Everybody's bouncing right back up and coming at you again. Is it really that fast as a fighter in the octagon, or is it starting to slow down a little bit for you?
Everybody that I fight seems to be fast, but speed isn't really something that is one of my strong suits. I'm good at slowing guys down. I can, John Dodson was so much faster than me and so much more athletic than me. I was chasing him, and he was faster than me going backwards than I was dead sprint going forward. But I got to where I could get my hands on him and slow him down a little bit, and being awkward and having an excess head movement makes me look faster than what I am. So really, I'm kind of just faking in the speed department. But yeah, John Dodson is lightning fast. It doesn't just look that way on TV. He's a freak of nature. That guy's something else.
And that's a huge challenge, isn't it? With all these speedsters out there, the pace is one thing, but actually getting some leather on the guys is a real challenge, isn't it?
Oh yeah, especially when they're that much more athletic than you.
Some of the weight classes, they're going to stand there and they're going to bang and they're going to stand in the middle of the pocket. So as somebody, as an outsider, and as somebody that doesn't really know what the hell they're talking about, but as an outsider and as somebody that bets on the fights, I'm always sort of looking at a guy after he's been knocked out. Some guys can shake it off better than others, but it's a warning sign for me. You got Benavidez coming in here after a knockout, which has never happened to him before. How much of an impact does that have on somebody?
For me, huge. I mean, he's been one of my favorite fighters growing up. I always looked up to him as a little guy and a great fighter. But just seeing him go down like that, it reassures me that he is human and that he's going to go down just like anybody else if they get hit in the right spot. But same goes for me. I've yet to be knocked out in the UFC, but it's only a matter of time. That's just part of the game, and I don't think that it's going to hurt him tremendously. He's too good for that to matter, and he probably just hasn't been knocked out before because nobody's been able to find his chin. So he's just that good. That's just the way it goes.
You've had opportunities. You got to win against Jens Pulver, and here's another guy that you've looked up to, and Joseph Benavidez. What's the biggest threat? And Benavidez, obviously, someone that you've seen fight as much as you have over the years. It's not like you really got to dive into the tape. You've seen him so often. But what's the biggest threat that he poses to you?
Experience. His ability to know where he's at in the cage at all times is going to be a lot greater than mine. I tend to lose track of where I'm at or what the time is or what's really happening in the fight. I get so focused on the guy in front of me. I tend to chase people, and that's an issue. If I chase him, he's too good. His striking is too good. So I'm going to try to not chase him and fall into his game plan. His hands are good. I feel like I should be able to take him down, but in the 25-pound division, nobody's able to hold anybody down. Everybody can get up after a takedown. So just stay relentless on him is all I can do.
It really is amazing, isn't it? I've been talking to fighters for like 12 years now, for a long time, and seems like the mental aspect, those little things, you know, because everybody's going to be in shape, everyone's conditioned, everybody's talented, everybody's tough, but it's the little things, isn't it? Is it the angles? It's knowing how much time is left in the round. It's all the little minutia of becoming an experienced fighter that puts guys over the top, isn't it?
Yeah, and that just comes with time. You can't really learn that in the gym, and you can't get that when you're fighting your training partners, because you just can't put yourself in that kind of match setting. And he's been in title fights, and he's won belts, and he's just been in the game so long. And I'm fairly new and green at it, and still learning every day. It amazes me what James Krause knows when it comes to fighting, and Zach Cummings, because whenever they talk about their fighting experiences and what they know, it lets me know that really I don't know shit when it comes down to it, when it comes down to fighting in general. So I'm lucky enough to learn from them guys and get better every day.
Tim Elliott with us. And Tim, I asked about the speed in the octagon, sort of half-heartedly with the speed of the division. But on a more serious note, have you noticed, development? Have things slowed down a little bit for you? Are you more comfortable, after the first couple of fights in the UFC now?
Yeah, I tend to start off slow, though, in every fight, and that's something that we're going to work on. And James brought that to my attention the other day, that, I start off slow in the first round, and he said that, in his opinion, that I've never lost a third round that he's seen in a fight. He believes that every third round I've ever been in since I've been at Grindhouse, I've won. So our goal now is to try to get that going in the first round, and that's going to come with, working speed and footwork, and that's something that Joseph Benavidez has had trouble with in the past, with Demetrius Johnson in his footwork and Dominic Cruz in his footwork.
Tim Elliott with us. Well, Tim, we'll let you get back to training here. We wish you the best of luck on April the 26th. I'm really looking forward to this fight. Who knows, maybe there's a bonus in the works here as well, as it should be pretty freaking explosive, man. And thanks a lot for taking the time to be in this. We'll catch up with you after the fight, man. Best of luck.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. Anytime.
There's Tim Elliott with us, and I loved his honesty about his own game there. That's one thing that always fascinated me about this sport, in which these fighters, they don't get enough opportunity in minutes in the octagon. There's so many freaking fighters signed to the UFC. If you're lucky, you're going to get 3 fights a year. If you're Cowboy Cerrone, maybe you're going to get 4 or 5 because you're their guy. But you're only going to get a limited amount of time, in the octagon. So it's kind of hard to improve in a limited amount of time. But these guys in Kansas right now, they're flying under the radar, but they're all badasses. We know that Krause is a real badass and a tough SOP. Cummings is a dude that's flying under the radar. And Tim Elliott, a dude that a lot of fight people have a lot of respect for. It should be a good fight against Joseph Benavidez. Robin Black's going to join us in studio. We still got our videos of the week. All that and more. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. I am Gabriel Morency. Thanks to Bazooka Joe for kicking it with us in studio. That was great stuff. UFC flyweight Tim Elliott, and Joey Odessa not with us this week, unfortunately, but not too shabby. We've got the Fight Network's Robin Black here with us, who's going to sit in on the videos of the week segment. And then we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back, and we'll talk about that classic jiu-jitsu match that went down over the weekend between Gracie and Eddie Bravo. But Robin, we play videos in a week. Yeah. Normally from the world of mixed martial arts. Sometimes we're going to mix it up, but this is something we don't see often. A knockout from a guy on his back in half guard here. Oh, cool. This is some pretty cool stuff. Let's roll the tape.
Inside of the arms there. The guy on the bottom is the guy we're watching?
Watch the guy on the bottom.
Ooh, that one hurt.
Oh.
Jeez.
Oh,
man. Yeah, that is rare. That's extremely rare. Just dinged him, it's hard to generate power from there because your hips are flat. But if you're a strong guy and you hit him just, like he cut him just on the edge of the jaw, very, very rare, but clearly doable.
You know, it's funny because Darkashian, the boxer, Vic, he said he's turning pro MMA. He said he only needs 3 inches of space.
Yeah, there you have it.
Which it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
But we just saw this. But how come, and you fought, Robin, you're great at the technical stuff. How come guys aren't able to do more damage with the elbow or the forearm from that position?
Let's look at there. That's the one. That left one on the edge of the jaw, and another one. So both landed right on the point of the right jaw, and that's what did it. It's the placement, like you.
Yeah, it's true.
Sometimes, yeah, it's
because
right.
I thought it was a temple or an earshot that got him, but
yeah, no, it was right on.
Pretty
the
well
edge.
done. That's a hell of a lot harder to do, isn't it? It looks easier than it is, isn't it?
You got to think about what a knockout actually is. It's like the brain moves. This doesn't sound great, but it's part of the act of playing football or hockey or fighting. And the brain moves slightly within the fluid of your skull. And sometimes when you catch something and just sort of whiplash the jaw, it'll cause that. So he got dinged right there a couple times. Rare, but kind of cool. And he also had this guard that he was controlling with his shins on the inside of the biceps, so it kind of had him tense and leaning forward.
Yeah.
You tense up and you get a couple there. That's not good.
But it's also a lesson. He who hesitates is lost. Buddy was a bit too careless and patient to jump in there. All right, this video had me laughing out loud. Michael Bisping is pissed off. He's not a fan of this video at all, and as you'll find out, with pretty good reason.
It's a long, lonely road. No one truly understands but those who have walked a mile in these shoes. People like to doubt you, to question you, to say you're all washed up, that you're nothing but a journeyman who chokes every time he has a chance to get a title fight. But I know the truth. There's a beauty in my world that they don't understand. I don't hear their voices. I listen to the other voices, the ones in my head, the ones that crawl out of my head and walk around the room, that chase me, that hover over me while I sleep. The voices tell me I'm the best. They beckon me to the mirror. I see their full form for the first time. It's a man. He's suave and debonair, with an amazing coif. Who are you? I ask. Michael Bisping, he replies. Then I realize that the only man that can beat Michael Bisping is Michael Bisping. To win in life, you have to push forward no matter what, unless you have to move back, and then back some more, throwing the occasional jab and hoping that those are points enough to get you through life. But I'm not afraid.
Do you know who this guy is?
I summon my courage in the darkness.
He's the guy that Bisping spit on in the corner.
I am willing to do things others
I didn't know. That's right, okay.
Places others refuse to. Or cannot go to within the confines of the law or the rules.
I believe he was one of his cornermen that is playing this role right here.
That makes me special. People think that they train hard, that they train crazy.
Yeah, there's a spit scene coming up.
Crazy. Yeah. I once choked a manatee to death just to see the expression on its face. That's crazy.
That's about the only quality joke in there for me.
People also say that I wasn't a real DJ because I had a laptop and that I have pillow fists. The thing about people is they aren't Michael Bisping. They can't always have that. They just can't always have their way. The friend of my enemy is my enemy. You want to support my enemy?
That's him.
Better bring your raincoat. Your umbrella won't save you, mate. Count on me counting down to counting my win bonus with an accountant by counting you out. By all accounts, this is the final countdown. I am Michael Bisping.
No, I'm not really sure what Bisping's so upset about, besides the fact that he was called a choker that loses big fights all the time. Other than that, I thought Bisping had thicker skin than that.
Yeah, personally, like I've seen a couple of interviews with him where he's been like, yeah, man, make what you can make out of it, go for it, and kind of, the weird thing about it is like, what is it we don't like about Michael Bisping? I like Michael Bisping. In fact, I think a lot of Canadians like Michael Bisping. We kind of get used to those British guys. Some of our mothers and fathers are those British, hopefully our mother isn't one of those British guys. But you know what I mean? It's like, Michael Bisping doesn't doesn't bug me. I like Michael Bisping. The guy can fight like crazy. He stands up, and he stands up for who, you know, somebody calls him out, he'll stand up for it, but it's easy to get under his skin, and everyone knows that kid, that you can just needle away at him, and so people do it a lot. But Tim Kennedy, I don't think is all that funny at this stuff, and I don't know that that was really that funny. It's kind of funny, but when you're going to put out a 2-minute video, you want it to kill. That didn't really kill. You know, it's like.
Well, I like the cow part. I don't know. Maybe I'm just. It's like neck braces are funny. Maybe I'm just falling for the British accent. But
I like the British accent.
Thing about Bisping is, and this is a true story. I used to be in the rock industry, similar to Robin, and a buddy of mine had one of the best jobs in the business. He made a lot of money providing treats for the rockers, but he was the driver. He'd pick up the band at the hotel.
Yeah.
Big bands.
Yeah,
Van Halen or whatever. And these guys are always looking for something, if you know what I'm saying. Hey, can you help us out after the show? So the UFC goes to Montreal for the first time. Michael Bisping's on the card. He does all the bands, so he did the fighters.
Right.
It was his job to drive Michael Bisping around for a weekend. So he didn't really follow the UFC all that much. He's like, hey, Morency, you know this British guy, this Bisping guy? And I'm like, why? He goes, I went out with him last night. He goes, this guy's insane. He goes, this guy's freaking nuts. So Bisping got invited to like a biker party in Laval, Quebec.
Everybody's been to one of those in Laval.
Yeah, in Laval. Got into it with a bunch of bikers and like real Quebec gangsters. Oh, yeah, like the whole British guys throwing punches and just loved it. Yeah. Like just loved it and did it all over the second night again. That's like Bisping wanted to go back to the place. He was like, hey mate, you think you can take me back? And my buddy's like, dude, like the cops showed up. Yeah. No, I think we should go somewhere else.
Nope,
you know what I mean?
To go. That's who the guy is.
Maybe he's mellowed a bit, but like, you know, when he first came to town in the UFC, that's Michael Bisping for you. He's going to biker bars and starting fights.
I like him.
And they might have or might have not taken ecstasy. All right, let's wrap it up with a video that MiddleEasy.com had. And this kid's being billed as the Swedish Anderson Silva. Word is they're going to sign him in the UFC. Check this stuff out. That's a man throw with mean intentions.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen...
Tough to gauge from a highlight reel, but he's now 7-0 and reportedly going to be signing in the UFC.
Because I've seen the Capoeira Anderson Silva, there's the German Anderson Silva, there's the Quebec Anderson Silva. So, you know, you got to see how they really develop. But the kid looks good.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Hey, listen, don't shoot the messenger, all right? That's what the video's called. Swedish Anderson Silva. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with Rob Black. It's the last time we bring Black in for our Videos in the Week segment. He's like, that video's not that funny. I don't see the comedy in that at all. Wow. Thanks a lot, Robin.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's get to something.
Tim Kennedy can fight, though. The guy can fight. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that fight.
All right, so let's get to something that you broke down in great detail. And hey, we're all about all forms of mixed martial arts on the program today. Some glory, some UFC with Elliott, but let's wrap it up with some jiu-jitsu talk. And there was an epic 25-minute battle that ended up in a draw this past Saturday night in Los Angeles, California, between Royce Gracie and Eddie Bravo. And Royce Gracie evidently bursted backstage after and confronted Eddie Bravo. And there was a big brouhaha that kind of overshadowed a little bit about what a magnificent display of jiu-jitsu this was. I saw Robin's piece on this, and I know it was like 25 minutes of this stuff. Just world-class attack, submission attempts, defense attempts.
Yeah.
Just awesome stuff.
Yeah, it was amazing. And you know what? Royler Gracie got you get a chance in every fight to do something. Royler Gracie got a chance to show his incredible heart and resilience and toughness, because all human beings on earth tap to that thing. And Royler Gracie said, we Gracies have a life of not tapping into this kind of stuff. And he got to show a lot of that.
And it's a good point that you bring up. Just quickly, I want to add this. A lot of people think, maybe the UFC fan only, that will say, well, jiu-jitsu, I'm into the contact stuff. Like, these guys were trying to snap each other in half, man.
Yeah, oh yeah, ripping from the body, ripping from the spine, and tearing from the legs. Eddie Bravo is an innovator. He's another generation, and it's cool to have another generation. Hoist, carved out a stone for him earlier, and he's adding a little elements to it. They don't have to hate each other. They can be friends, and they can work together. Eddie Bravo really made a giant statement that his system works, and he's a giant innovator.
Pretty big for American jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. It was Meta Morris. It was big for jiu-jitsu.
It was big for
Meta Morris.
Yeah.
It was a breakthrough event that made mainstream regular fight fans go, oh yeah, this isn't just guys in pajamas. This is cool.
No, and it should be noted, it was like a standing ovation. Like, everybody was off their feet just all the way into this. All right, so it's a light week. We've only got some Bellator this week with Congo and in Minikoff. UFC returns next week. We're out of time already, unfortunately.
That's all right. We'll enjoy some Bellator. Next week we'll watch the UFC again.
What do you like, Congo? Or,
I do. Yeah, I like Congo.
There it is, Robin Black, Fight Network. Well, that wraps up another edition of MMA Meltdown. Thanks to all of our guests. And if you want to meet Bazooka Joe, go to the Shoeless Joe's in Scarborough. Saturday night, April 12th, there's going to be a glory viewing party that's at Shoeless Joe's in Scarborough. And there's going to be all kinds of kickboxers and MMA guys down there. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.